everyone. I thought today we'd do something fun and make some monster cookies. These are cookies that are made at my oldest son's college at St. Olaf. And apparently they're very popular. So one of the students posted the recipe and showed how to make it. And I thought it'd be fun to do with you guys. All right, so what we're first going to do is we're going to mix the dry ingredients. So these are things for the recipe, and I'll post the actual amounts later. So first we're going to put in here, these are old-fashioned oats, like what you make for oatmeal cookies. This is an oatmeal cookie. It doesn't have any flour in it. So the recipe calls for 2 cups. So this is 1 cup. And 2. And then I have to put a quarter. It's 2 1/4 cups of rolled oats. And there's my quarter. All right, so that's all mixed there. And then the next ingredients are salt and baking soda. And it's a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to pour that into my bowl. I have little helpers down here. I have kitty cats who are trying to help me. And then this is just plain old white sugar, and it's a 1/2 cup. So I put that in there. And by the way, I did wash my hands before I started this, and that's the most important thing to do, right? Make sure you wash those hands for 20 seconds at least. All right, and I'm going to mix that nice and good. This is just so everything's evenly distributed, even before you start mixing it with all the other ingredients. And you can see with a clear bowl, see how there's a lot of sugar over there. We're gonna clean, see, stir, stir, stir. Get things all mixed up. All right, so I mixed all those things together, and now I'm going to mix in let me see, it is just here, 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. Do you see how that is all looks like a little mound? That's 1/2 cup. Mix it in there. Looking good. And actually, I think you're supposed to mix the white sugar, the baking soda, and the salt first before putting the oats, but oh well. You just got to go with the flow sometimes. The most important thing with baking is the measurements need to be accurate because it's like a science experiment. If you don't do that right, then things don't go well. All right, so there's that 1/2 cup of brown sugar mixed in. And then I need to put in, I have 3/4 of a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can also use, what else? M&Ms, you know, whatever suits you. I'm using semi-sweet chocolate chips from Trader Joe's. Stir those all together. Okay, so those are all my dry ingredients, and I mixed them all together. And as you see, that will be fine once we get it in the mixer. All right, so those are all my dry ingredients. Next, I'm going to put in the wet ingredients. So I already have, and I'm going to pick this up and show you. I already have my peanut butter in there. It's, let's see if we can tip this down like that. There's 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter. Now, I have sent a message to the people who have the recipe and asked if you can use a substitute for peanut butter for those of you with peanut allergies. So I will get back to you on that. So to the peanut butter, you want to add 2 tablespoons of softened butter. Right there. I'm going to put after the softened butter, I will have a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I always love smelling this. When I was a little kid, oh, it smells so good. But you know what? If you taste it, it doesn't taste so good. You can try tasting it, but it's kind of wilky, but it smells wonderful. So I am going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla with the butter and the peanut butter. And I'm going to then add 2 eggs that I've already, lift this up and show you. I don't want to tip it too much. I've already beaten them. So you beat 2 eggs ahead of time. I use a fork to do that. So I'm going to pour the eggs in here. And I have to let my cat into the back room because he is scratching at the door. Hold on. And I'm back. All right, so right now I'm going to take my mixer. Now you can also do this with a spoon, you know, a big spoon or handheld beaters or whatever you have. This just goes faster for me in a mixer. So I'm going to mix all those things together. A little slower. You can see it. Mixes. And the main thing here is to get all that butter, peanut butter, everything mixed really well so that it's evenly dispersed in the rest of the batter. All right, so I then will scrape the sides of my bowl. Let's see if we can get a shot of what it looks like, just to make sure there's no chunks of butter or anything. That everything's pretty well mixed together. Let me just do a little bit more. I think that looks a lot better. No little spots of butter. It's really nice and creamy. Okay, so I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl. Okay. And now that I've mixed everything together, I have to check my recipe. And then I'm going to mix in the dry ingredients. So this right here are all our dry ingredients. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. That's everything we mix first off. And we're now going to put that into the bowl. Mixing bowl. And I do a little bit at a time. Let's see, another way to do it, like I've been pouring it with a bowl, but if you want to do it, you can take just a measuring cup of everything and just put it in. That might make it easier than if you're holding the bowl. Is kind of complicated. It's even hard for grown-ups. But taking a measuring cup, this is a 1/4 cup size, and putting it in there, that's a nice slow way to do it. Oh, it looks so good, you guys. Now, oops, I don't want this all to fall out. Let me have you take a look at what it looks like. Let's take a look here. Doesn't that look good? Okay, now the fun part, and this is why it's really important that you have clean hands to do this next part. All right, so I'm going to take this is called the beater, and I did scrape. I'm going to scrape first, just make sure everything's all mixed, and it is. There's nothing, no dry ingredients that are still dry. They're all wet. All right. I'm going to take off my rings so I don't get peanut butter on them, because guess what we're going to do next? We're going to make them into me see if I can show you right now. I have the cookie sheet, and what I'm going to do is there's parchment paper in here that helps them not stick to the pan. I would guess that if you wanted to, you could maybe spray the pans if you don't have any parchment paper, just something so it doesn't stick. Parchment paper makes it so you're not adding any more grease than you need to, but if you need to have a little grease, that's fine. So you're supposed to make them into 2-inch balls, I guess like this big. So isn't this fun? Look at this. I'm gonna take a bunch of it, and then it's like Play-Doh. And you're gonna put it right there. You're gonna space them. You're gonna space them about 2 inches or so apart, because when they go into the oven, they will get bigger before they start to cook. They'll probably run into one another even though I spaced them apart. That's okay. So I'm making these, and this recipe will make probably about 24 cookies. And when we talk about cookies, sometimes we talk about dozen. A dozen cookies is 12 cookies. So we'll have 2 dozen cookies, which is 24 cookies. And if you make them smaller, then you possibly will have more. All right, so let's see. Right now, I wonder, can you count how many I have? It's hard to see because I have things in the way of the camera. All right, let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's one more. 7, 8. What comes after 8? 9. Usually I can fit a dozen or 12 cookies on a cookie sheet. So 9, 10. What comes after 10? We got 11. Oh, the chips came out. 11. And then the last one on the sheet. Sorry, I'm kind of rolling. I'm making them over the bowl because things are falling out. And 12. So hold on a second. I'm going to wash my hands and show you. There we go. 12 cookies. Now, I'm going to turn the camera this way. I'm going to put them into my oven. And the temperature is 350 degrees. I already preheated it, which means I warmed up the oven before I started doing all my mixing. And now I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them into my oven. Show you. There they are. And then I close the oven. And then I'm going to set the timer. So they're supposed to bake between 12 to 14 minutes, but they suggested checking them after like 8 minutes or so, because every oven's different and you don't want them to burn. All right, so I will show you the finished product in a little bit. All right, everyone, I just took them out of the oven. They took about 12 minutes in my oven, and as you can see, they are lightly browned. You don't want to cook them too long. You don't want them to burn, but just lightly browned. And you're going to hear my cat feeder go off right now. And there are my kitties who are so excited about eating their food from their cat feeder. All the things you learn about Miss Alissa's house. All right, so there they are. I would let them sit on the cookie pan for probably about 5 minutes so that they get a little firmer. These are the ones that came out beforehand, and I took them off and some kind of fell apart, so I let them sit a little bit longer. All right, happy baking. See you later.